Welcome to the Get Fit Guy's quick and dirty tips to slim down and shape up. Let's face it, big lungs are not sexy. You don't see commercials on TV with big-lunged people traipsing through an exclusive nightclub, and you don't generally brag about your lung size at parties. But if you've gotten out of breath climbing a flight of stairs, become frustrated by the inability to run up a hill during a 5K or a marathon, or found yourself constantly sucking oxygen on the treadmill or in the gym, then you know that oxygen capacity is a very important component of fitness. But the benefits don't stop there, since there's a direct link between a higher oxygen capacity and your ability to stay alive for a longer period of time. Now, technically, your oxygen capacity is actually defined as the maximum amount of oxygen you can use, and it's also known as VO2 max. To keep it comparable among different ranges of fitness levels, oxygen capacity is defined in milliliters of oxygen per kilogram of body weight per minute. But you may also find it listed as liters of oxygen per minute. For example, the average male athlete has a VO2 max of 3.5 liters per minute, and somewhere close to 50 milliliters of oxygen per kilogram per minute. Lance Armstrong, who happens to be pretty good at cardiovascular exercise, has an oxygen capacity in the high 80s. You can measure your oxygen capacity by going to an exercise physiology lab and getting a VO2 max test, or by approximating your oxygen capacity with what is called a field test. Examples of common field tests to measure oxygen capacity include the Astrand 6-minute bicycle test and the Queen's College step test. Don't ask me where they get these names, but you can Google any of these and find complete instructions for estimating your oxygen capacity, or you can go to the show notes where I'll put a link for one of my favorite tests, the 1-mile jog test for measuring oxygen capacity. So let's say that you find out that your oxygen capacity isn't quite where you want it to be. Well, there's two ways that your oxygen capacity could be limited. First, your muscle tissue may not have the chemical ability to actually use the oxygen that it's getting from your lungs and your heart. Take mitochondria, for example. Despite what you may think, mitochondria are not bed bugs or a strange ethnic hors d'oeuvre. They're actually tiny components of your muscle tissue cells, and they allow your cells to turn oxygen into energy. So, if you have low levels of mitochondria in your muscle tissue, this will limit your oxygen capacity. Another way that oxygen capacity can be limited is an inability of your heart or lungs to actually transport the necessary amount of oxygen to your muscle tissue. For example, your heart might not be able to pump enough blood with each beat, and since blood contains oxygen, this limits oxygen capacity. Or your inspiratory muscles or lungs may not be able to fill with as much oxygen as your muscles need, which would also limit oxygen capacity. So now that you know what limits oxygen capacity, it should seem pretty logical how to actually increase oxygen capacity. You can either A, improve the ability of your muscles to use oxygen, or B, improve the ability of your heart and your lungs to deliver oxygen, or C, both. And yes, you can increase your oxygen capacity, although oxygen capacity will naturally decline with age at the rate of about 1% per year after the age of 25. With proper training, you can elevate your oxygen capacity by 10 to 20%. Fortunately, since it's so crucial for athletes to have a high oxygen capacity, there's been a lot of research done on how to increase oxygen capacity as quickly as possible. It turns out that very hard exercise efforts of 3 to 5 minutes, separated by complete recovery between each hard effort, is a perfect way to increase oxygen capacity. Ideally, if you're serious about improving your oxygen capacity, you should do these type of efforts 3 or more times in a single workout, and attempt for at least 2 of these type of oxygen capacity increasing workouts per week. Of course, this type of workout should sound very familiar to something I've talked about before, interval training. So how would this type of oxygen capacity improving workout actually be structured? Here's a sample workout you could do on the bicycle to increase your oxygen capacity. Warm up for 5 to 10 minutes by pedaling easy. Next, prepare the body for your oxygen capacity efforts by doing 5 hard 30-second efforts, each separated by about 60 seconds of recovery. Now on to the good stuff. Perform 3 to 5 efforts of 3 to 5 minutes of very hard pedaling on the bicycle, with 3 to 5 minutes of easy pedaling after each hard effort. Each of the hard pedaling efforts should be at your maximum sustainable pace. Next, cool down until you're breathing easy. With just a few weeks of this type of workout performed twice a week, you may actually find yourself bragging to your friends about your big lungs, getting stopped on the street by complete strangers who want to know your oxygen capacity, or filling out the registration form for the Tour de France. Okay, maybe not, but at least you'll have the confidence that any cardio effort will suddenly become easier and you'll burn more calories and have more energy. If you'd like to recommend another audiobook that I can tell people about in the show, leave a comment at the Get Fit Guy Facebook page by going to facebook.com/getfitguy. And while you're there, you can ask any number of questions that you'd like, and I'll be sure to answer them during the week. I also shell out fitness tips every day from my Twitter account, so you can follow me there at twitter.com/getfitguy. Finally, be sure to sign up for the free newsletter at quickanddirtytips.com/getfitguy. And you can also check out my personal blog, bengreenfieldfitness.com, where I also give out free videos and release a slightly longer podcast that you can listen to. Until next time, this is the Get Fit Guy asking you, what are you waiting for? Go get fit.